Bro. Where was this? Where was this seasons ago? Where was this for Season 4, Season 5, Season 6? Where was this for My Villain Academia, bro? Like, look at this! Like, look at this animation, bro! Like, oh my goodness! My Hero Academia's final season has just... I dare say, it is actually, hands down, it could be recency bias, but I think that this is hands down the best My Hero Academia's ever looked, at least in seasonal-wise, not including movies, just seasonal-wise. I will say this is probably the best My Hero Academia's ever looked, because the consistency throughout this entire episode is legitimately just jaw-dropping. It looks just so freaking good to the effects, the backgrounds, and one of the biggest complaints that everybody has had for a very long time with My Hero Academia is the sky. And I know that sounds stupid, and don't get me wrong, it is stupid, but the point is that there has been a big complaint in, like, the community for the anime for a very long time, like, honestly, feels like a decade at this point, that My Hero Academia has an issue with its color palette for its sky. It's always, like, this big, bright blue sky and all that when some crazy stuff's going on, and as much as you want to take that seriously or not, it's very clear that the color palette to the way the art direction has been within these latest episodes and just this season in general, and kind of the last season as well, My Hero Academia has really stepped up to the plate and gotten just so much better. Like, the quality of the anime, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna straight up say it. I actually think that the anime, this is the first time in a very long time, I think the anime has surpassed the manga. Now, to be fair, the ending of the manga is controversial. There's issues I personally have with it. Don't worry, I'm not going to spoil you anime onlys. There is issues I didn't like about the final arc, the final stretch of the story, and one in particular I didn't like personally was Bakugo's revival. Now, my opinion on it is a little bit different now, thanks to just the way the anime has depicted it. I'll get into that in a moment, but I was not a big fan of how all that was kind of done, especially with edge shot, so to speak. And this episode, I think, handles it in a way to where there feels like there is still a sense of urgency. It feels like there is weight behind the story, and that characters can die or get injured at any given moment. And the very emotion and vibe of this episode feels very in line with a hero and villain-like story. Once again, I'll dive more into this in a second, but I will say straight up that My Hero Academia, this episode and the previous episode, just this season in general so far, like the final season, has surpassed the manga. And I'm so happy I can just straight up say that, because, like, for a very long time, I'm gonna keep it real, okay? My Hero Academia's anime was okay, but it could have been better, especially for a series that, it's this generation's Naruto, or this generation's, like, I guess Bleach and stuff. That's kind of how I view My Hero Academia, like, with its era. Before Demon Slayer, obviously, before the popularity of Chainsaw Man and JJK, I feel like My Hero Academia is one of those series that was like the carrying on the legacy, the torch, the in-between generation of what we have now, in between, like, you know, Naruto, Bleach, and all that coming to a close. My Hero was like the bridge, closed the gap, so to speak. It built the bridge for everything to come after, and it is a legacy series. It's a very important series. It has a lot of significance and cultural weight, honestly, regardless if you want to say that's good or a bad thing. The point is that I'm glad to see that My Hero Academia is getting the respect it deserves. It deserved a good anime. It did. And for a very long time, for years, there's been just so many complaints I've had about the anime. It was just, gonna be honest with you, it was an inferior experience in comparison to what the manga was. But somehow, Studio Bones, they got together and they're like, you know what, let's go all in. Let's go all out for the finale of My Hero Academia, and boy oh boy, they really are doing it. They are going all in with the quality. And it's not obviously just the art and animation that I think is really just doing such a good job with this. I do think that it is the choreography, the cinematography, and just the character acting in general. The way everything is depicted within this, the way they go through transition scenes from character to character, it feels like there's a lot more life and attention to detail put into this than, let's say, prior seasons. And it reminds me of some of the highest highs of the early seasons of My Hero Academia, like Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3. Like that whole segment with, like, for instance, All Might and all that when he's fighting All for One for the very first time. Just like this whole scene where you see everybody, like, you know, praying and hoping that All Might's okay. They're wishing for him to not die and all that. Just a lot of these emotions you see here, like the people that compiled this together for this episode, they did the right way to handle this. To the transitions, to the, you know, blurring to the next scene, to the voice acting overlaid on top of it, to the music. There was just so much. It was like putting all these ingredients together, and you can have a 5-star meal, potential 5-star ingredients, but to get a 5-star meal, you need to have good chefs. You need to have people that know what they're doing, and the entire team that has been working, not just on this episode, but the previous episode, and just honestly the final season of My Hero Academia, has just done a good job. Like, they are actual skilled chefs that are showcasing their weight in love, not just for, you know, My Hero Academia, but for anime in general. You can just feel the passion from everyone that is working on this show. But with that being said, though, and the glazing out of the way, I do want to say that this episode really fixed so many issues I had with the manga. I don't think it completely fixes it, but, like, if this would have been the experience, my first time experience seeing this, and I wasn't spoiled, or I didn't know what was going to happen, or whatever, I would have no complaints about the direction of the series. The way it's depicted in the anime is just fantastic, the way it's done. There is just so much emotional weight and these ups and downs with the emotional turmoil that I feel like just the way the anime does it, it's so much better than how the manga actually handled it, especially with, like, you know, getting a chapter conclusion, waiting a whole week, get the next one and all that, and the way the chapters are done with the little content, it made it, like, kind of awkward with some of those cliffhangers with the chapters. So, let's get into what this episode did and how it actually fixed a lot of the issues I had with the manga. So, one of my biggest complaints I had with the manga for My Hero Academia, and I feel like a lot of people heard about these complaints, especially when it happened. I remember it was basically trending all over social media. It was trending all over YouTube. I remember Reddit was talking about it. The spoilers were everywhere. And if you are an anime only, I would be very surprised if you were shocked about Bakugo dying and then coming back. Like, I feel like there was just too many spoilers out there that nobody really expected him to really stay dead. But however, if you made it to this point and you were not spoiled, congrats to you, because that is a rarity in this day and age where everything is online and everybody talks about stuff. But the point is my big issue I had with Bakugo in the manga was that he had this very emotional moment, and the way he went out was just crazy. Like, he died like that, and it's like, oh my goodness. And then you have this character come in, like Ed Shot, and don't get me wrong, Ed Shot is a cool character, and his depiction, especially in the anime, is leaps and bounds above what the manga did. I'm just gonna straight up say it. And I feel like that is one of the big reasons to why I think that I can accept Bakugo's return and the way he comes in like he does in this episode so much better, because of the character acting, the voice acting, not just from Bakugo, but from, like, Ed Shot and what he was doing for Bakugo to bring him back. But fundamentally, though, Bakugo coming back, I had an issue with it in the manga because it felt like it took away a lot of the gravity or weight of the situation, the threat of, let's say, Shigaraki and All for One, because it's like, nobody's really dying. I mean, technically that's still kind of true with this episode. I mean, All Might survives, you can see it in this episode. Bakugo gets back up, he's injured, but he gets back up, and it seems like anyone too critical to the plot has yet to face, like, death, so to speak. And the sense of urgency or threat definitely was diminishing. In the manga especially, it was diminishing greatly. But the way the anime is depicting it, the way the anime has showcased the ups and downs, the revival of these characters or the characters being saved, has handled it in such a way it feels kind of like traditional comics. And I know that might seem like a sly, or it might feel like a backhanded, like, you know, just, like, bad comment on My Hero Academia, but no, I mean it in a good way, because My Hero Academia is technically a love story to comics like DC and Marvel and all that. I mean, that's kind of how its original start was, and when you look at how it's depicted here with this final fight and everything, typically, like, in a climactic final battle with the main supervillain, you have it to where the supervillain is winning, everything's going crazy, you have characters potentially reaching the end of the ropes and they don't know what to do anymore, and then suddenly there's either reinforcements or something happens to spark that light back in their heart once again, and they get back up and they keep fighting. And it is a formula that has been used already a few times in My Hero Academia. For instance, the stuff with All Might and All for One, the very first fight we had with him back in like season 3, and then we had the stuff with Endeavor and High End. There's many examples of this where things are going south and then they go straight up and it's like, holy crap, this is amazing, and they win. It follows that traditional heroes overcoming impossible odds type formula, and in this case it does that, and the way it is done in the anime fits that formula and makes it go way beyond how the manga version was depicting it, because in the manga, I want to be honest, the way the chapters were spread out, the way the content was given, it didn't feel as emotional because of everything. And at the time, it took so long to get back to Bakugo after we heard he was getting worked on. I think Bakugo in the manga, when he actually quote-unquote died and was getting, like, you know, help and medical emergency, I think he was out of the manga for like over a year. Like, we didn't see him for literally over a year. But the way the anime has done it, it has been a lot quicker to get to the content again. It doesn't feel like it's been that much of a slog with how much content has been covered. And it makes you still reminded and care about the situation as well. There's a lot that is just working in favor of the anime depiction. And so I think that in general, I like how Bakugo was handled in the anime. It obviously might be the same backbone, the bones of the manga, but like I said, there is just so much heavy lifting in so many other scenes too. Like I said, the character acting, the voice acting, the music, the art and the animation, that is just doing so much to this to bring it to life that make it so much more emotional and better. Now, with that being said though, we gotta also talk about All Might. The All Might stuff in this is still, to me, I'm a little bit mixed on it, but at the same time, I'm not. There's an aspect of me that thinks that All Might should have died here. But at the same time, I understand why he didn't. And let's explain that. One of the big things about the story of My Hero Academia is passing on, you know, the mantle, so to speak. You know, the symbol of peace and stuff like that, protecting people. And All Might was this lone pillar that protected people for a very long time. And he bared a burden that nobody should have to, carry on their own. And it has led to a lot of issues within Hero Society of My Hero Academia. And a lot of people have suffered thanks to just one person having to carry the burden. And when he fell, there was no one really able to pick up the pieces. And in this case, when you look at the situation of All Might, he's always been this character that's, like, been pushed up against the wall. He shouldn't be able to walk, but he continues to walk. He's injured, he's broken, he's destroyed, but he still somehow manages to hold up all society on his own for as long as he possibly could. And he's always been this person that has been fated to potentially die. There's been a lot of, like, hints, death flags and stuff for a very long time, basically since the very beginning of the story, since the Nomus were introduced in Season 1. You know, it's always been hinted that All might die, and there's just so many death flags that covered him, everybody expected his character to die. And there is a part of me that kind of wishes he did, because I feel like it would be interesting to see the character dynamics of, like, what Bakugo or Izuku or Shigaraki or anyone would say if they saw All Might die or knew he died. It would be interesting. I would just love to see that what if, like, that the direction of the story if that technically happened. But obviously that is not what happened with the story. All Might survived. And I think in a way what Horikoshi Sensei, the author of My Hero Academia, tried to do here was subvert expectations. For instance, traditionally in shonen, not just like hero stories, but in shonen, the mentor character, they teach the protag or whoever character, and then the mentor dies. It is a very common theme. If you read a lot of different shonen, if you read a lot of different shonen manga or watch a bunch of different anime, you'll know quite a few major important mentor characters or senseis within different anime and manga that are very popular do die. And obviously it's not always every single manga or anime, but it's a very common trope. And All Might fit that trope to the letter. Like, he was a perfect candidate to basically die as a mentor character. But he didn't. And I think that what the series, or what Horikoshi was doing here, is to showcase that the mentor character getting to see his students surpass him. The mentor character getting to see what happens after he no longer can do what he used to do. For instance, protect society, save people. How will people be after he can no longer do anything? And in a way, it's a little bit more of a punishment than just straight up dying. Because think about this. There's been a lot of issues that All Might's had to overcome as a character. For one, he's had to deal with the fact that he's kind of like a civvy now. I mean, yeah, he can fight with certain technology and stuff like what we saw with Iron Might, but, like, he is nowhere near his peak levels. And he has to come to terms with that. He has to come to terms that he no longer can just save people willy-nilly. He can basically die at any given moment because of just how weak he is without, One for All. And I like that. It's understanding your limitations, and you can no longer do what you once did. It's like the coming of age story, and also old age eventually gets to you, but on a amped up, kind of number. Because All Might's having to see society crumble around him as he just cannot do anything about it, even though he was able to do it a long time ago, or maybe even a year ago. So, like I said, I like how All Might's character has been depicted on, keeping him alive. But like I said, there is a part of me that wishes he did die here. But it's understandable why he didn't, because of what Horikoshi was doing with his character, and that is more or less why I was able to accept it even in the manga. But like I said, it's completely different from the Bakugo stuff. Now, anyways, with the way it's depicted in the anime, oh my goodness, man, it's just so much better. Like, hearing Night Eye again, hearing his voice actor talk to All Might, even if it's like a hallucination, it's emotional because you get to actually just get a continuation of that conversation happen a very long time ago, and get to see kind of like what Night Eye potentially would have said to All Might, or what he actually saw, and that this is probably the moment he saw where All Might was probably going to get ripped in half by All for One, which is ridiculous. That is a gruesome image to think about. Like, imagine just getting straight up tore in half, and all like, oh my goodness, that would have been insane if that would have happened in the manga or the anime. With that being said, though, I do have to say, I like seeing Bakugo go up against All for One. It was not a fight I think anyone truly expected to see, especially because when you think of All for One, you think of One for All. You think of Izuku. And seeing Bakugo go up against All for One, like, kind of like Prime All for One, technically, it's a little bit of a shocker. And it's just like, you know what? I don't dislike this. It's pretty cool. Now, as for Bakugo fighting All for One, it's a really weird fight. I'm not gonna lie. You would never really expect All for One and Bakugo to be like the hero versus villain type combo, or like All for One to beat Bakugo's villain. But when you think about, like, the context, like the context clues since like the very beginning of the story, I mean, you gotta remember that the reason why All for One was even able to kind of drag All Might down as the symbol of peace was because Bakugo got kidnapped, because he got captured. And for a very long time, Bakugo blamed himself. I mean, even this episode reminds you of that fact, that he blamed himself for All Might's fall. And so him coming in, saving the day, saving All Might, but also going after All for One, it's kind of like some payback. It's much needed payback after everything that happened in the beginning of the story, and Bakugo trying to make things right after everything, to not just save himself, his own image, but also to save All Might and save his image as well, for he doesn't drag him down any further. It's really great. I love the way, like, the story is written in this, and the way the anime presents it is just so freaking beautiful. But with that being said, though, overall, fantastic season of My Hero Academia. As you can see, I've just been glazing this episode non-stop. I cannot believe it fixed all the inherent issues I had with it, and it's doing such a good job, man. It's like, if you're a My Hero Academia fan and you had some, like, issues with the finale to some degree, I recommend you to sit down and watch the final season. It's really good. Like, it actually is. I'll leave it at that, though. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.